Hey guys, just wanted to get you a video out here on YouTube showing how to set up a BIOS on a Compaq Desk Pro. I wanted to make this video because I noticed there was not any videos that I can find on YouTube. I found some old forums of people discussing it, but no videos, and I was even kind of struggling with this. I ended up getting a hold of a Desk Pro computer in a big haul of old PCs that I gathered. The Compaq Desk Pro, this one's the 4000. I got the top of the lid. It has the serial number over here somewhere. There we go. And, well, it's on the other side. No, well, the sticker's really rubbed off. I don't know if we can see it very well in the shot, but Compaq Desk Pro 4000 5166. So this one has the Intel processor in there running at 166 megahertz. And I was wanting to reload Windows 95 on this machine because it looks like it was upgraded to Windows 98, and I wanted to set everything back to defaults for the, like it was coming out of the factory. And this particular machine was loaded up with Windows 95 when it came out, and that's what I wanted to put it back to. Now there's a little bit of weirdness with the board before we get started. When you go to do this, not every hard drive will work with this motherboard. I think it's got an 8 gigabyte maximum limit. The hard drive that I'm actually using now is, because I'm going to reset the factory one. I still actually have the factory one. It actually still works really well. This was one that actually came with the computer itself. So it's actually a Compaq, has a Compaq label here. Let me see if it actually looks like it looks in the shot. Sorry, I don't have a person like a awesome camera or anything. I'm just shooting this with my phone right now. But it's a 6.4 gigabyte compact hard drive, and the one I'm using right now for testing to show you on this video is actually just an IBM. It's smaller. I think it's like a 1.8 gig drive that I pulled from an old Dell machine. The hard drive is actually starting to go bad, but it'll work enough for this video. To get me started off, though, I almost forgot to say, though, going back to the drive for this particular machine, and the reason why I'm saying I think it's got a hard drive or a hard limit of 8 gigs was when I was trying the adapters for the CF cards. For one, the adapters weren't working. It was just showing a disk error every time, no matter what size disk I use. Like this one here has a 4 gigabyte drive in it. I tried the 8 gigabyte, didn't matter. Any of the other larger drives that I had, like I got this, what was this one again? Quantum Fireball, and I think this is a rather large drive, like 80 gigabytes or something. Every time you would turn on the machine, it would show a disk error, but then it would also show some information. You'll probably end up seeing it here in a little bit when I get started. But it would always say 8 gigabytes, even though it's not an 8 gigabyte drive. It would always just say 8 gigabytes with everything. So I think it's got a maximum limit. So you'd have to have a drive that's working. But that's also kind of the bummer, because also these adapters, it was really picky with these, and it seems to only be working with actual hard drives that I have on hand. I haven't tried any other adapters. I know there's like different kinds of CF card adapters. I know there's SD to IDE adapters. Maybe those might work. I don't know. I would say good luck to you. This board seems to be very picky with what it does. Just to show you so far, just to kind of get us started, I'm just getting a Windows 95 boot disk, getting us loaded in. We'll start off with no CD-ROM support. I already tested this once before the video just to make sure I see how all the process went. But I'm going to show you here in the drive, just using F-disk. Get this pulled up. In post, if I need to, if the screen looks like it's too far away, don't worry, I'll try to zoom in on the screen if it doesn't appear to be super viewable. Of course, we'll just go to display partitions. There's no partition. Again, I wiped everything off, even the partition that we're going to be making today using the diagnostic disk. So that's where this gets a little tricky. And I'll also put a link in the description of the video, getting you to the Internet Archive. That'll get you the images for these disks. And then I'll also give you, I'll try to put in a link too of the type of software that you would use to be able to get these images on a disk. It's a disk writing image software. I just ended up using an older Windows XP machine that I had that would be able to be reliable to do this. I loaded up the program and the images, copied the images to my disks, but you're going to need all 3 of these disks to get this started up. The diagnostic disk itself is what's going to actually create the partition needed that then the setup disks will load onto. The setup disks actually have the BIOS itself to manage it, I should say. So not technically the BIOS. There still is a BIOS on the motherboard, but the problem is you can't access any of it like you can on a Ward BIOSes, where you already got the screen, you hit the delete key, you get into the BIOS, and you do all of your configurations through there. You can't do that with Compaq until you create these disks to then create a partition, because your BIOS information to adjust and edit it will actually live on the hard drive and not on a BIOS chip on the board, which was really cheap of Compaq to do. I guess they were trying to save some pennies by not having BIOS chips, or, you know, especially since they always had their own BIOS. I guess they didn't want to pay another company like their Ward BIOSes or anything. So that's why they decided to do that, which is a pain in the butt, and here we are today. So anyway, to get us started, let me just go ahead and get us going on that. So let me reboot the machine, and then we'll get started off with creating the partition, and then I'll try to edit this video and skip out some boring parts that aren't going to be helpful. So I'm just going to go ahead and eject my Windows 95 boot disk for now. We're going to go ahead and restart now that we got, again, a completely empty hard drive. And so right now, first things first, I'm going to put in the Compaq diagnostic disk. Again, we're going to use that to create the partition on this empty drive. And this warning right here is just for this particular hard drive. It is starting to go bad, so it's actually saying, you know, hard drive detects imminent failure. This thing, every time I try to format it, it gets to about 88% and then just completely fails. It still works if I only partition and format like 1.2 gigabytes worth of it and skip the last whatever portion of it. It's like a 1.8 gig disk. You know, you can kind of get away and cheese it a little bit with some of these older hard drives if it starts to fail like that. Just, you know, cut down some of that space, because the part that it airs out is more on the outside of the disk. And as long as you format within the inner circle of the hard disk itself, you can get away with still using it. Okay. This part here, I think I remember. I think I actually have to load up the setup disks first, because that gets you, it like loads the BIOS in RAM first, and then from the BIOS, you could then put in the diagnostic disk that creates the partition. So let me do that now. So again, taking out the diagnostic disk, we're getting out Compaq setup disk number 1. Hit enter. Okay, there we go. And your computer will start and finish loading. So again, this is the parts where I'll fast forward in the video so that we didn't skip a lot of this boring stuff that happens. Okay, so we're loaded up here for the most part. You'll also see date and time not set. Now we'll be able to set that once we get the BIOS loaded in. The only problem with this machine is the battery's dead. I haven't had a chance to replace it yet because it's a rechargeable one, I believe, that's soldered to the motherboard. So I got to tear it all apart to do that, which that's just going to have to wait. But at least we can get the BIOS still going. So I'm going to hit F1 to boot now into that setup disk. There we go. Gave me some little beeps. Now it's telling us to insert disk 2. One of the things to make note, because I thought it was kind of strange, when you do set up these disks in that imaging writing software, disk 2 is compressed. Don't worry about it. You don't have to pre-compress it because it wouldn't fit on a disk. It has to stay compressed. My guess is there's already some compression software in the setup disk that handles that. So just leave it compressed as is on disk 2. So we're going to set that in there, press enter. Again, this is going to take quite a while to load everything up. So I'll fast forward to this part as well. Okay, now we got our beep here. So disk 2 is done loading up. And then now we're going to go ahead and go back to setup disk 1 like it says. 1 to continue. And now that everything's loaded up in RAM on the computer, now we can finally go into running the setup. Because I do believe if you hit install, it'll say a diagnostic partition does not exist. Use the PC diagnostics disk to create a partition. That's what we're trying to do. So we're going to go ahead and run the computer setup. The date doesn't matter. I don't have a battery anyway. It won't read it. I'll just set it to 1986, whatever. Won't remember the time anyway. There we go. So this is what your BIOS, when you finally get this all loaded up, this is also what you're going to see without the need of the disks once it all exists and is written to the hard drive. This is what their BIOS looks like. And from here, it'll show you all the built-in devices, shows us our information like the processor that's actually in there, how much memory, which we got 80 megabytes in this one that was upgraded. I think this machine originally came with 32, which I'll probably end up setting it back to 32 because we don't really need that much RAM. It's kind of a waste for Windows 95. And then over here, the add-in devices, it even picks up the Sound Blaster 16 plug-and-play, which is what came with this machine originally. And as well as just shows things like the bus controller and IED controller, stuff like that. So anyway, to get us to where we actually want to be able to load it in, let me take a look again. So now I'm going to try to remember here. All of a sudden I forgot. But let me see if I click on Install Computer Setup. I know this is where it tells me I need the diagnostic disk. Let me see if that's... Okay, exit this utility. Yep. There we go. Yep, I've already removed the setup disk from A. Okay, now we're back. Sorry about that. So now that we had the BIOS, after the setting up, BIOS is now in RAM. Now when you put in the diagnostic disks, now it's finally telling us we need to create it. Create diagnostics partition. The hard drive does not have diagnostics partition. It is strongly recommended that you allow this program to create a diagnostic partition to install the correct software into this partition. To create the diagnostic partition, you must have the diagnostic diskette and the setup diskette. Okay, we got it. Okay, your system now must be rebooted to continue the installation. Please ensure that the diagnostic diskette is inserted in drive 8. Oh yeah, we got it. So the pain that's kind of silly about this is, why you can't just go straight to that screen from the diagnostic disk. It first makes you set up the setup disks, then go backwards to that diagnostic disk to then finally get that prompt, which is a little weird. I wish it would just go from there and just create me my partition and load it in, because then you got to go back through and reload these again into that partition. But essentially, I guess it still needs the setup program to live on the, or at least to be loaded up in RAM to get it to work. I don't know. It's kind of, it's a lengthy process. We'll just say that. It's a little tedious, but that's how it goes. Oh, there for just a moment, I don't know if you saw it, there was a little flashing bar in there now that we didn't have before. That's where you would actually hit your F10 to get into BIOS if you needed to. Obviously, we're not doing that right now. We just want to get the diagnostic diskette now to create the partition. Here we go. Now it's saying the diagnostic partition is being formatted. You have to create or upgrade the diagnostic partition. You must have the diagnostic diskette and the setup, and follow the prompts. Okay. Now it says, please insert the setup disk. So I think it's just a way of itself to check, like it won't even create anything unless it knows for sure you actually have your setup disk. So I'm taking the diagnostic disk out, putting in a setup disk. All it's going to do is see it, read it, and say, okay, we're good. Yep, see, there you go. And so we're taking that out. Now we're going back to the diagnostic disk. Again, when I mentioned it's a little tedious. Now it's copying the files to the diagnostic partition. And there we go. That took a little while, but and now it's asking us to insert the setup disk. So again, now the partition has been created. Now we're going to actually go through that loading process again, but instead of it just getting loaded into RAM, which is temporary, now we're actually going to go ahead and get it loaded on the partition that this disk actually created. Insert that in, press OK. Okay, there we go. Got our little beep. So we're right back to going from disk number 1. Get set up disk number 2. There we go. Got our beep. Now it's telling us to go back to setup disk 1. So take out 2, go back to 1. Enter. And there we go. Installation of the diagnostic partition is complete. In the future, you can run the Compaq utility directly from the hard drive. To do so, press F10 key at power on time when a large block cursor appears in the upper right corner of the screen. That's what I was pointing out earlier. You'll see like a little flashing block up here. Or just, typically what everybody does when they power it on, just kind of start, mashing F10 every once in a while, and then you'll get into this portion. So we're just going to say OK. The utility is provided to help you set up and test diagnose your computer. You should use this utility, whatever. We know. It's just BIOS. Now we're actually in the utility section. This is again where you can go into that computer setup that we were before, where it actually showed you like the cards that you have inside and what was already on the motherboard. That just goes right back into there. This part here is the manage diagnostics partition. You don't really ever need to do that. You could delete the partition again through here for the diagnostic disk portion. Obviously you wouldn't need to do that. So I don't know. They put that on there because you could also upgrade the partition. I did that with the original hard drive was in there just to kind of see. So I guess if like different versions come out, you could actually go into the manage diagnostics partition, take your diagnostic disk, put it in there, and it'll upgrade it if it's an older version. The only thing is when I did that to the original hard drive with the partition that was already on there, it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't say you're upgrading from version this to that. So it's not very helpful. I don't know. I don't even know how you would find out if you even needed to upgrade it. So I doubt you'd ever need to use that. The view systems information is obvious. It just spits out all the like, here's your processor, here's your RAM, just the usual. We're not really going to go deep into here. The main part of this video is actually how to get this set up on a partition on your drive, then you can go in here and explore as you will. For now, we're just going to go ahead and exit this utility, and it's saying we're going to go ahead and restart the computer. Oh, and while we do that, I'm going to go ahead and take out the setup disk, because again, these are just to get you set up. We don't need these anymore. And now this all exists on the partition on the hard drive. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to go ahead and boot us up back into the Windows 95 using the Windows 95 boot disk. Then we'll use fdisk so you could actually see the partition that's created in there. And maybe here we might see the block flash here in just a second. Fortunately, it takes a little bit longer because this thing's always telling me the hard drive's almost dead, which, yes, I get that. I know. But then you should see a little flashing block up here, and that's where you now can go into the F10 to actually get into the BIOS. And again, that's what's, that's what's not there if you don't have the thing. Oh, actually, this one didn't even give us the block. Now it's even giving us, you could either just go straight to booting. This one even now is giving us a prompt. And usually you'll see this prompt if you don't have the boot sector already in there. If you don't have an operating system loaded up, it automatically dumps you here without that flash. I remember this now, without that flash, because it's not booting to anything. You're kind of stuck here. So it's saying either go into setup in the BIOS or boot from something. So yep, we're going to go ahead and boot from our Windows 95 boot disk. There we go. We're going to go ahead and load up no CD-ROM support for now. We're just trying to get to fdisk. There we go. Oh, okay, let's go ahead and get to our fdisk, and then I'll show you the partition that we're looking at. Enable large disk support. Well, not really. Okay, here we go. So let's go ahead and display our partitions. There we go. Now, our very first partition, and that's the other thing that you also have to understand too. You have to have a blank drive first. You cannot have a Windows partition on here, because that partition will take the beginning portion of the disk, and this disk, or when you try to set it up, it'll throw out an error saying you can't do that. It has to live in the very first part of the disk. So again, if you already have partitions on your drive and you're trying to set it up new like we're doing here, you have to make sure to go and wipe out, using fdisk, wipe out all of your partitions and clean and start fresh. But here we go. Now it only takes up 22 megabytes. It's pretty small. It's not a lot of space. But from here, now we can actually go ahead and set up our usual, your typical Windows loading procedure. This video is not really about that. I'm pretty much at this point, you can stop. You're done. You can now move on. But I always hate in videos when they show stuff like that and then you don't see the final, get into Windows 95, load it up, I want to see it. I don't know. It just scratches that itch in your brain. It's just like, but I got to see it in its completion. So I'm going to go ahead and from here, load it up if you want to continue on. But again, the main portion that you saw is done. So we're going to go ahead and create a partition. We're going to create the primary partition. Verifying disk integrity. Do we want to use the maximum? Again, for this one, I would normally say yes, but in this instance, we're going to say no, because this hard drive is failing, so I can only use, so instead of 1.6, I can only use 1.2. So we're going to set that. All right, so we got our DOS partition. Now we need to go and actually format it. Nope, telling us we got to restart. Okay, we're going to go boot back into our boot disk. See, again, we got that splash screen asking to boot or F10 because still we don't have an operating system. There we go. This time we're going to go ahead and load with the CD-ROM driver. I do believe, let me double check that. I'm going to say I got, yes I do, okay. Because I do have Windows 95 OSR 2.5, the later, newer Windows 95 image that I got from WinWorld, I believe. I would definitely recommend just going there for any of your Windows 95 images. Put it back in. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and format C drive. Yep. Yep, now we're going to go ahead and format 1.2. Now, before when I tried this and I didn't have, again, that just part, the 1.2 megs, it was trying to do the full 1.6, and again, at about 88%, it would just quit and fail, and then I had to start all over. But again, I was able to kind of, again, cheese it and just do the 1.2, which is fine enough for this machine anyway. Well, actually, just for testing, I'm going to do this on the larger drive that, again, was 6.4 gigabytes. So this will, again, be plenty of space for what little I'll use this particular machine for. And I'll go ahead and fast forward through all this part because, again, we're on spinning rest. It even at just 1.2 gigs, this thing is slow, and it will take a while to format. So I'll be right back at you when we're at 100%. All right, perfect timing. Just got back with a cup of coffee, and we formatted here. Okay, no volume label needed. All right, there we go. So now going back into the F disk. Enable large disk support, display our partitions. Now again, since I didn't do the large disk support, you'll see that this is actually formatted in FAT16 instead of FAT32, which is fine for this machine, and this is going to get rewiped again anyway. But now we see we got our two partitions. Again, now our BIOS lives on this partition, and now we can just install from there. Now, one of the things that we are still going to have to do, though, is set an active partition. Obviously, we need to set that within our primary DOS partition. So let's go ahead and that. So right here, go to 2 for setting that. We're going to type in number 2 for our partition as active. Boom. Now we're going to go ahead and this is where it's actually going to boot from when we get to that point. All right, so now we're done here. We must restart again. There we go. Yep, we're going to go ahead and load now the driver with for the CD-ROM because we want to actually get information off of the Windows 95 disk itself, the installation disk. Yeah, we're just waiting on this. Kind of a slower machine. I got some other machines that are better for Windows, suited for me for Windows 95, so kind of contemplating on even what to do with this one. I might end up just selling this machine. It'll be a little redundant. I already got quite a few other computers I'm working on. Okay, there we go. All right, now we got our C drive, which obviously has nothing on it. Let me make sure it pulls up the D drive. This particular CD-ROM drive, this thing's very slow. Just to yeah. Oh, in fact, it even just couldn't even read that time. Let's try it again. I heard it starting to spin up. It's been having some problems. Come on. There we go. Now it's starting to read it. But essentially what we're going to do then is the usual setup that I know how. Again, I'm not a professional. Maybe some of you guys might be seeing this thinking, oh, what are you even doing? I'm not. I only just started kind of messing around with some of these older machines. So one of the things, though, that I did learn that I want to do is go ahead and make a directory on the C drive that is currently empty. We want to go ahead and create a folder. MD is make directory. We're going to make the directory of Windows 95, setting up a folder essentially. And then what we want to do is copy the Windows 95 folder from the disk onto the hard drive at this point, so that way we can install from the hard drive and not from the disk. The reason for that is the disk, the hard drive itself, will be a lot faster in reading those files compared to the optical drive, which especially with this optical drive, since it's so just ridiculously slow, the installation would take an extreme amount of time compared to just doing it from the hard drive. So we're going to copy everything in the Windows 95 from our disk drive. I'm going to copy that over to the C in my Windows 95 directory that I just created. Hit enter. Luckily, hopefully the disk drive will actually start spinning up here, not fail out. There it goes, it's spinning up. Again, we're going to have to fast forward to this part because it's got like 200 and I forgot the number, 212, I don't know, it was over 200 files that it has to move from the disk onto our hard drive. So we'll fast forward through that. Okay, here we go. So that took quite a long time. Again, we fast forwarded through that for you so you don't have to sit through that. But here we go. So now we have our Windows 95 directory, change directory, Windows 95. Then we should see all of our folders. I forgot. There we go. Now we're in the Windows 95. So you can see your directory. There we go. Got all our files. So now we're going to go ahead and do our setup from here, from the hard drive. All right, here we go. All right, and of course we're going to say yes to our agreement. Okay, and at this point, I always like to customize my own installs. I know you can do typical, and you can always go back in and add this stuff later for those who don't know, but I like to do my own custom install. Oh, let me go grab the, again, you can get these keys off of that WinWorld with that download, and then get the key for the OS2 Windows 95 installation. Let me go write that down really quick. Okay, there we go, I'm back. 4796 0014. There we go. Name. This is the Compaq. I can't spell today. Compaq. And company. I don't know. This is the Desk Pro 4000. Let's put that. Good enough. Yes, we definitely want to analyze the computer and let it try to do as much as plug and play as it can. It does have a network adapter on it, but I'm not going to connect it to the internet anyway, so I don't care. Actually, you know what? Yeah, why not? I'll let it detect that. I might play around with that later. Okay, here we go. Now within this portion, I don't need accessibilities, accessories. I can never remember what I want to keep. Yeah, I like the wallpapers. Give me some of those games. That's good enough there. Don't need communications. Disk tools, since I actually have a hard drive, you know, you could use defrag, but I won't be really messing around with that too much. Then definitely the multimedia to make sure you get all of your, you know, different audio compression tools. I like everything. I like the whole thing on that one. All right, gonna add that. There we go, and it already caught the Cirrus Logic display adapter there. Everything looks all right. No, I don't want a startup disk. And next. Okay, there we go. I'll go ahead and restart the computer and finish that up. Oh, yeah. Take out the boot disk. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and skip the RAM check because that takes too long, but now we got that BIOS in here. We should be seeing that flashing come up here instead of it just dumping straight to saying that box with F10 or boot, because now we actually have Windows loaded in here. So let's take a look and see if it actually does that for us. Oh, no, it still actually tells us to stop here. Maybe after the initial, I think it's because Windows 95 still has to load for the first time, which, there we go. Now we got our lovely, you know, loading for the first time screen with this beautiful background image. I remember being a kid I don't know why, but for whatever reason, this particular image was always really neat to me. For whatever reason. I guess one of the reasons why I like this image too is that we actually had that mouse and keyboard, the Microsoft IntelliMouse, and then this Microsoft keyboard that was supposed to be ergonomic or whatever, where it's split down the middle. It was always kind of an interesting keyboard, but actually quite comfortable to use. But I always thought that was neat that it was our actual keyboard and mouse that was on this image. All right, now it's detecting our plug-and-play hardware. And make sure my speakers are up so we can actually hear the lovely Windows 95 startup music if we actually get a chance to hear that. If it loads the driver for the Sound Blaster card, okay, it should. All right, well, sorry about that, guys. We're back. My phone ended up dying. Should have made sure the battery was full before I recorded. So we kind of missed out on the first initial boot up here. But that's all right. I'm going to be restarting it anyway. But let me just go ahead and get rid of all this active desktop stuff. I don't want that. And let's take a look at the properties. At settings. It already did pick up my... in fact, let me look at the control panel. There we go. Go into the system. And so far, I mean, everything looked like it picked up all right. Got the video card just fine. And the sound card, the most important thing. There's some other devices. I'm not going to worry about these right now. Let's go ahead and set our settings here. Going to go to true color. Change it to at least 800 by 600. And then we're going to go ahead and do that with restarting. Okay. And then now maybe we'll see what it's talking. I'm going to see if it still goes back to that screen where it just always gives me those two greenish blue things. Oh, well, okay, I guess not. Guess I would. That's right. I guess I would have to go from a full shutdown, not just a restart. There we go. Okay, we don't want this anymore. Do we want the channel bar? No. Okay. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and give it a full shutdown, and then start it back up, and then there we go. Save to turn off our computer. Where's my little? There it is. All right, give it just a moment here. Now, when we start up our computer, we'll have our BIOS options. And we should see again the little blinking thing here, but I'm gonna see if this ends up going again where those messages, you know, saying F1 to boot, F10 to get to the BIOS. Let me just skip the RAM check. Okay, still telling me my hard drive is going to fail any moment. Let's go. Oh, okay. Well, for whatever reason, it's before when I first did this, it would just go straight to booting into Windows. I don't know why it's not doing that this time. Whatever. But before it would just flash. You'll just see like a little white bar up here in the corner that'll flash, and then that's where you can quickly just hit your F10 to go into the computer setup with your BIOS setup. For whatever reason, it's taking me to just here to boot and F10. Don't know why, but either way, it would still be fine. Maybe I can try figuring that out and seeing if there's something in here that would need to, yeah, I don't know. That's weird. Before it would just go ahead and go straight to booting up Windows like it should, and not just stop there at that screen. Definitely makes it easier to get into your BIOS when you want to get in there, but that's not really what I want to do. Unless, let's see. Well, even once you're in the BIOS, I guess I got to show this, but from here you can configure like your storage drives and your input devices. system information. And then, of course, with your add-in cards, here we got the Sound Blaster in the ISA slot. And then, like you would with any other BIOS, you got your save changes and exit right here. So let's just go ahead and save our changes and exit. Maybe once we save these changes, it'll finally bypass that screen. Maybe that's something I need to do, because that's something I did do the last time. Okay, we're going to go ahead and exit from this utility. Exit and restart, it says. Yes. Let's see if it actually, oh, and I'll skip the RAM check. We don't need to do that. And let's see what happens this time. Now, of course, like I talked about earlier, the CMOS battery, I have to actually change out the clock battery in here. So it won't remember the time the next time I fully shut this thing down for a while. But I have to disassemble all of this and break out soldering equipment for all of that. Oh, okay. Well, for whatever reason, it's just going to always take me in here, which is fine. But now we have it. It's working. We got BIOS to get into on this. Sweet music to my ears. There we go. All right. Well, guys, I hope you found this helpful and good information. And I'll try to thinking about maybe shooting some more videos from other computers that I have in my stockpile here, and throw out some more things and see what happens. But, okay, guys, coming back at you again with another little snippet. I plugged back in the original hard drive that came with this machine, and I was going to reformat and pretty much go over everything I did in the video to get this reset back to Windows 95. And sure enough, when I went to power it on, it shows the white bar up here letting you know to hit F10. So I'm just going to show that now in this portion so you can see what I'm talking about, because that's actually how it should look. So skip the RAM check. And then you'll see, I don't know what the difference is, why when I redid the other drive, I don't know why it wasn't showing that and coming up with those two icons. I don't know. Again, the first time I did it was fine. And this time it wasn't. I don't know why. Whatever. But anyway, give it just a moment. Come on. There it goes. There. See, now you got that little line. That was pretty much your little section there to let you know you could hit F10 to get into the BIOS. So when this is all done correctly, that's what you should see.